Alright guys, check this out. Got the Akrapovic carbon fiber exhaust, and we got the DynoJet PowerVision 3 that's going to flash the ECU on this MT-09. Right now we're running the stock exhaust, so we're going to install this aftermarket exhaust. First, let's see what this sounds like. Alright, so let's see what the stock exhaust sounds like, and we'll compare it to the new exhaust once we have it installed. Alright guys, that's what the stock exhaust sounds like. We're going to install this new exhaust and we'll compare both of them. Alright, let's get going. Alright guys, let's open this up and see what's in the package. Got some bubble wrap. We have the exhaust tip. And let's see what else is here. So we'll get this out and let's lay it out and see what it has. So let's see what we actually have in here. This looks like the actual exhaust. Let's open this up. There we go, look at that, nice and clean. So that's included into it. So I'm going to put this to the side. Another piece of exhaust, okay. Put this to the side. Just making sure that everything's in here before I install. Bracket, okay, perfect. Alright, so we have bracket, mounting hardware springs, anti-seize, installation instructions, okay. We do have our warranty, noise emission warranty statement, and this is installation in multiple different languages, so we're probably not going to need these. I will register this to the manufacturer. Just going to put those to the side, and the main thing we want to look at is this piece right here. Right there. Look how beautiful that is. I did get this from RevZilla. I'll put the link in the description down below. If you're interested, click on the link. You could purchase it from RevZilla. My recommendation is do not buy these on eBay because they do make knockoffs. This is a true, authentic pipe. If you buy it on eBay, you have the risk of getting a knockoff. So this is actually a real exhaust. Again, it was purchased through RevZilla. The link is below. And I believe this will fit all the way up to MT-09 2020. So let's get this installed. Your first step is to get the motorcycle up on either the side stand or your rear stand, because what you want to do is you want to get underneath the motorcycle and remove this oxygen sensor right here. That's going to be your first step right here. So let's go ahead and do that. You're going to get a crescent wrench, come over here and knock this off. So if it's really tight, just get a crescent wrench, hit it with a hammer, and it should just loosen up. I already hit it with a hammer, loosened it up, but we're just going to pull this off. Pop it off and just leave it hanging just like that. Our next step is to come in here and remove these bolts off the exhaust. Alright, I got those removed and I put the actual bolts back in so I know the actual order. These are off, so when I put the new exhaust on, those will match up. I just don't want to lose them either. So you can keep track of your bolts how you want to, but I think it's easier for me just to put them back into the original position. And let's move to step 2. The next step is to remove the exhaust hanger mounts. It is a 14mm. And you have to do this on both sides. This is on the right side of the motorcycle. So remove this, and you have to do that on both sides. So let's go to the other side. So remove this. And this is on the left side of the motorcycle. This should drop off now, so let's pull it out. Alright guys, there it is. There's the stock exhaust. So let's have a look at this. Look at that thing right there. There it is right there. Stock exhaust is off. That's what it looks like. So let's install the new exhaust. All right, guys. I don't know if my camera cut out, but we removed this 3 bolts here. We removed this spacer, and we replaced it with this bracket that was provided with the exhaust. This was a 19 millimeter. This was a 14 millimeter, 12 millimeters. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna torque it to spec. So this right here, we're gonna torque to 65 pounds-foot of torque. And these ones right here are gonna be 25 pounds-foot of torque. And this one's 25. All right, let's move to the next step. All right, the next step is to install the headers. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put it on and we're gonna hand tight it. Make sure that if your copper washer falls out, that you keep track of them. This one fell out, so make sure you have all your copper washers in there. And let's put it on and tighten this hand tight. We're not going to torque these yet. Those should be hand tight, and we'll come back to that and torque those to spec. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to install the sensor, and we're going to put a little bit of anti-seize on there so it doesn't actually seize up. So just take a little bit and dab it on. There you go. There is a torque spec on here, but so just give it a snug. It's good enough. All right, so that's complete. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to install the press-on nut onto the link pipe. Basically just push it on this way. There you go. That's what it should look like. It should be facing this way. This is where the headers are. This is where the slip-on exhaust is going, so it should be facing this way. As you can see, it goes this way. All right, let's install this. All right, guys, we want to slip this piece on here, just like that. Make sure it lines up with this hole right here, and use the stock bolt that came off the stock exhaust and slip it in right there. And just hand tighten it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get these springs right here. So let's put this spring on. What you want to do, make sure you have a spring puller. You can use pliers, but this is going to be much easier just to pull the spring. And make sure you wear your safety goggles, because if that spring comes back, hit you in the eye, you're going to have a bad day. So let's put these springs on. Grab it like this, give it a pull, and there it is. Just like that. That's what it looks like. And we're going to tighten this bolt now, and we'll move on to the next step. So let's tighten this. I'll give you the actual torque specs for that. Okay, this bolt is 16 foot-pounds. Torqued it in. All right, on to the next step. All right, and make sure you do the spring on this side, just like that. All right, now we're going to install the tip, and we have to put the bracket on. Make sure you take note of this. It says the product does not meet emissions compliance requirements for street or highway use. It has a little Q in there for quality control, so make sure you take that into consideration when you put this exhaust on. It should only be used for track, and that's what we're going to be using it for, just for track. All right, so let's put this on and get going. All right, so we're going to slip this exhaust tip on, just like that, looks like, and then we're going to put in this bolt right here that they provided and torque it to specs. And we'll also put on the springs. You have to do this on both sides, so let's do that. Let's just hand tighten this for now, and then come back, and then we'll come back and we'll torque it to spec. All right, so let's take this spring here, start from this side here. So if it comes off, we don't scratch this exhaust. And we're just going to wear our safety glasses and pull and roll off just like that. Boom. You could use pliers, but this spring puller is a way easier tool to manage these springs. So let's go on the other side and put the other spring on. Start from here, and we're just going to pull down, roll off, and there you go. All right, let's torque that other bolt and we should be ready to go. We still have to torque the exhaust flange too, so we'll do that last. Okay, this should be torqued to 16 foot-pounds. There we go. All right, so let's go and torque the front flange bolts and we should be done. Okay, so these flange bolts are 16 foot-pounds. So we're gonna torque them. That's spec. I did go over already and tighten these, so I'm just checking them right now. The exhaust is installed, so have a look at that guy. Sensors installed, all the springs, and there it is. So let's have a look at the stock exhaust compared to this new exhaust. All right, check this out. Look at this stock exhaust. Look how big this thing is right here compared to this new Akrapovic exhaust. So much cleaner. Look at that. Look at that. So clean. And we have this huge primitive exhaust. So let's do a comparison. When I got this new exhaust, I started up the motorcycle with this big primitive paperweight. So I'm gonna play this video on what it sounds like, and I'm gonna start this up and see what it sounds like. So let's do that. Alright, so let's start this with the new exhaust and see what this motorcycle sounds like. Definitely an improvement. So stay tuned to the next video. I'm going to actually map the ECU with this piece right here. So let's see if it actually makes a difference. So stay tuned. Appreciate you watching.